Okay, you guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jeneth Blackert, and I am your host, and we are talking now with Megan Sillitoe. Today is day 2, interview 3 for Bliss Week. And I just want to remind you for each of the beginning of these calls, if you hashtag nugget during the call, or if you hashtag magic today, we are counting your hashtags, and there'll be a contest where you can win 2 tickets to my event called Beology in January. So if you want to be a part of it, make sure you use your hashtag. We'd love for you to comment and share no matter what. I also want to recognize one of our friends and sponsors of this event, that is Soma Breath. I just got to do a little bit of my own work and showed them a little bit about Soma Breath, but if it's something you're interested in, we'll be sharing a link in tomorrow's email so that you can get a whole free program with them. So if breath work is your thing, look for that. All right, I'm going to bring Megan on, and then I will talk about her for just a minute. All right, here she comes up. Isn't it cool? It's like counts you down, 3, 2, 1.
I just kissed you on the cheek. Mwah.
I don't even know. Oh, I would.
No, turn the other way.
Let me tell you, it was funny because I knew we were having a nooner, except now it's actually 1 my time, and so it was a noon your time. So at the end of the first call, I was like, well, I need to get on with Megan. I knew that it was coming. So I was like, all right, well, I was looking for your name to pop up when Dawn's popped up, and then she didn't come on. So I had been talking about you at the end of her call, and then I talked about you all during my call. So anybody new that's showing up, I want to tell you just another nugget about Megan. So I mentioned Megan and I have been playing together in a co-creative way for, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years now. And we met at an event, and she was like, you create very differently. And I was like, well, I'm trying to, but sometimes I'm struggling. And then when we got together, I noticed she created very differently. And together and it was wild. So I'm really glad she made it, because I know that she had a little accident a week and a half ago-ish, and still recovering. So thank you for being here today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Jeneth. I'm so excited because I love creating differently with you. So I wonder what kind of different conversation we'll have today.
Oh my gosh, right? It's like when I think about your name, I get all fired up. And man, I've already been all fired up already. So I just fired myself up with some awesomeness energy in the last call. So now I'm like, all right, settle down just a minute. We're talking bliss here. And bliss means, I don't know. What does bliss mean to you?
If we're doing bliss, we shouldn't settle down, Jeneth. I would never tell you to settle down.
Right. So hello, Karen. Hello, Yvonne. Hello, Renata. Thank you all for joining us. And if you guys have any questions that come up, I would love to share. I would love you to share and put your hashtag nugget or hashtag magic with it. So with whatever you say. So.
Yay.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I admire about you is your ability to just say yes. It seemed that when we first met, you were, we've both done this over and over again. We've both, we're given lessons early on, like settle down, be quiet, you're too much. And I know with you as well with me is like, instead of like actually being that full expression, we've gone into being like, okay, I'm settling down. And we settle down to the point that we're bored or we are, so I'd love if you'd kind of start us there on your experience to really say yes to life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that my birth mother would tell you that I've always had a yes to life because I had a very unique birth experience. My mother was sent away to have me, and so when I got connected back with her, I asked her if she was really lonely because she was sent to I'm from Canada. She was sent to the United States to go to school, i.e. have a baby, right? And she lived with a friend of the family kind of a thing. And I said, that must have been really lonely. And she goes, are you kidding me? Like I had you in my belly. Like you were like, it was like, she said that the energy she felt was that I couldn't wait to get here. Like I couldn't wait to play. And she goes, you entertained me because you were bouncing energetically, like bouncing all around. And like, to me, that's kind of like this is like, I had a yes to life. I was like, come on, what are we going to do? Where are we going to play? And so I started out with a yes, and as you said, I think, growing up I got adopted by my grandparents and I was their baby of 14 and they were going to make sure that I didn't mess up. And so there was a lot of control mechanisms put on that yes. Mm-hmm. And so I would say that a lot of my sort of inner work journey has been coming back to that big yes for life, for adventure. When I was trying to recover my yes in my 20s, it was a bit dangerous. Like I was, crashing cars and doing copious amounts of drugs, but it was that energy of like, boom, that I was looking for. And I didn't know how to get to it. And when I started my healing journey and sort of unpacking things, then that sort of yes started to emerge again. And I just think that it's so vital, and it's the ticket into life. That yes is the ticket into life for real.
Yeah. So if somebody on the feed is using things for like addictive things to stop them or to cope or get through things, do you want to do some processing with them or move them through this energy? Like where would they start to just go, all right, I'm making a shift here?
So the first thing I would do is I would look for what areas in your life, and it might not be addictive, it might more be like procrastination, it might, which is kind of could be an addiction, but it could look like a place in your life where you have a lot of drama going on right now, because drama is one of those things that covers up the true yes, right? So how I look at all those things, it's like a yes trying to emerge. Like my yes for life was trying to emerge on that sort of fast lane I was on in my 20s. But it was all kind of twisty-loo-hoo, right? So, the first place you want to look at is where in your life is there a yes trying to emerge that you're suppressing, right? So kind of feel into those areas,
so
right?
Start with what do you think you want to do, or what do you think is coming through, or what do you think you're avoiding?
Yeah. What's the yes trying to come through? That would be the question. Okay. What's the yes trying to come through this addiction? What's the yes trying to come through this procrastination? What's the yes trying to come through this drama? What's the yes that's trying to come through? That would be an awesome question to ask. Now, you may not get that cognitively when you ask it. You might want to play with this question for like a few days or journal about it. But so just for, just because we can and we're here. So whatever energy comes up for you when you say, what's the yes underneath this? Anything that's not allowing you to perceive that, can we release and dissipate that?
Yeah.
And maybe just ask that you release and dissipate to the earth, or just maybe take a breath and make some space for that to come forward. With the yes trying to come from? I would say that there's something because I was born, I think I'm a yes activator. Like maybe
Yeah.
maybe that's why my mom felt that in the womb. But in my workshops and stuff, I like, even when I'm not directly addressing this, people tend to find they tend to find the places where the energy's rising in them.
Right.
This place where they want to say yes to some part of themselves or some part of life that they haven't been saying yes to. So people get kind of all fired up in my world because of that, because I feel like it's such a powerful energy when we go, yes, that I'm going to do that. I'm going to be that. Right. And so, all the messages that you've heard or all the no messages, this is really interesting statistic. They followed a bunch of 2-year-olds around. Like there's like 500 psychologists followed a bunch of 2-year-olds around for a full day to see how many yeses to nos they got in their environment. Like how much, that's so good, honey, versus stop that, don't do that. And it was literally like they had 87% of the responses from their environment were no's. And so we get trained with the no from so early on. Like, I can't do that. Don't go out in the street. Don't do. I mean, and some of those no's it's not necessarily a negative thing. Like, no, do not paint the bathroom wall, or whatever, But like, we got there. We're inundated with the no, and so no wonder most of our yeses are buried.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's why we hide and we stick it down there and we don't see it, and we procrastinate. I think because we, like it's kind of like there's a little bit of fear sometimes, or a little bit of I just don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that some of that is just really our programming. No. Like, and that's the thing, right? Because a 2-year-old really lives
programmed.
A 2-year-old really lives by its instincts and impulses, right? So it's like if we're constantly being told no when we have an impulse to act, what is that actually creating? It's saying don't act. It's saying repress the impulse, stop the impulse, stop the impulse. So that can lead into no action, repressed action, or like I was trying to kind of charge myself up in a certain way in my 20s, right? It's like I was trying to break all the conditioning and all the control and all the religious stuff. And so it was kind of my 20s were kind of a big no to all the no's I'd been given, right? But that's fighting against something. And that's not the same as yes. Mm-hmm. When you choose for something, that's a yes. When you're saying no to other things, that's more of a fighting against. That's not a full yes. And that's partly why it got all ski-womp, because it wasn't just like, what do I want? What do I choose? It was like, I'm not going to do what you wanted me to do,
And we rebel, which is another construct, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, who or what are we rebelling against? The only way that we can rebel is to put power outside of ourselves, and then to go, screw you. It's almost like we're playing a power game with ourselves when we rebel.
The only way I can't even write it or say it at the same time. The only way we rebel is to put energy outside of us. I love that. Mm-hmm. Somebody write that in the comments.
To put power outside of us specifically. I give you the power. Like I used to put this out with police officers a lot. I was always like fighting against authority. But if I'm fighting against authority, then I've given them the authority.
Yeah, right. Because you judge it. Or, well, I mean, you're like, I choose this way, right? Mm-hmm. By putting power outside ourselves. Let me see if I can write it. Mm-hmm. Gosh, that's a good one. Wow.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yvonne wrote it in the opposite way. The way I finally got it out. She said, when we rebel, we put power outside ourselves. Good. Thank you, Yvonne. Wow. Gosh, it's so, so let's talk about reprogramming this programming, or even unprogramming this programming. So if we've got procrastinators, we've got putter-offers, we've got people using things to numb out, get away from them, avoid things. Even, in the last, people have, ailments going on. So let's talk about unprogramming ourselves so that we can be free of some of this. Or all of it.
Let's do it.
See how much we can get to.
I think that it's really, there are a lot of different pieces and parts to this. Like, as I coach people through these kinds of things, there seems to be sort of a awareness point. It's like, because we're so busy calling these things wrong. We're so busy calling, I drink too much, or I'm a procrastinator. And so there's this way that we call it wrong. So then when we call it wrong, we literally hold it in place.
Okay.
Because it makes it more solid, actually. And then now we have to fight against ourselves. There's another thing we have to fight against. We've given when you call something wrong, you're also giving it power. Yeah. And now I have to fight against it, right? It's like, I'm a procrastinator. Oh, you've just given procrastination power. And now, since you've given it power, you have to fight against it. And then if you fight against it, you actually create more constriction and restriction. So the first thing we got to do is go, cool. I wonder what the yes is under there. I wonder what that instinct is trying to come through, and like turn your serious to curious.
Yeah.
Right? Like, get curious about what the gift is. Right? If you call something wrong, then we put it away and we do this with it instead of open it up and go, what's right about this? What's the yes? What's the cool thing lurking under there? Right? And get curious about that. So almost like teasing it forward. So awareness, and so everywhere you've called any of those things wrong, right? Anywhere they've called any of those things wrong, can we just release and dissipate that?
Yes, please.
With a couple of deep breaths. It's like, what if it's not? What if it's actually, and this is something that I believe, is that any sort of non-working behavior is a sort of a sweet request in the making. Every non-working behavior, or what feels to be a non-working behavior, it's working, otherwise you wouldn't do it, it's working for something. But there's oftentimes like a sweet request. Like, I helped somebody quit smoking once because every time they'd go outside to smoke, we kind of looked at what that was. It was the only time they gave themselves space or a break in their lives, was when they went out to smoke. And so when it was a request for space. And so when we got clear about that, and when they got willing to create space in a different way, their desire for smoking shifted, right? So all these things that we're calling bad are actually a desire for something better. That was the best way we knew, right? So with Yvonne, where she was saying that what's the deal with procrastination? It's like, well, maybe procrastination was the best way to bury the impulses that weren't okay in your reality when you were growing up, or weren't okay in a job that you had or whatever. And so it's like, I got to toe the line, And so what if that was just gestating your yeses? What if your procrastination is gestating some other yeses that you haven't let yourself know yet? Because, I just did this awesome call this weekend I called it Power Up Your Ask. And it was about really tapping your true desire and and opening, using that to ask bigger questions of the universe in the whole ask and receive game. And what I created this really cool little desire process. We might even include that in the gift thing that people are getting. I could probably get that really easily. It's just a little tiny ebook. It's about 4 or 5 pages long, but it's about getting clear about getting out of other people's desires and getting clear about your desires. And we have so much stuff. Like, we've taken on other people's desires. We're afraid our desires are bad. We're afraid our desires will blow up the planet. You know, so procrastination, I think, is one of those things that kind of protects us from our desire.
Mm-hmm. I would have to agree. Procrastination is the thing that protects us from having it all, too. I mean, in addition, right?
Yeah, which is like the ultimate desire, is it not? Right? It's like, I want to have love. I want to have money. I want to have creation. I want to have impact. Like, we want to have, like, I don't know about you, but my deepest desire is to have it all.
Right. Well, and in some way I'm like, I'm really close. And then there'll be something that I'm like, I just want a little more of that. It's always for me a little more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. It's and that's great. I can just keep adding. At least I'm not going into the at least I'm not like dark and depressed and, you know, sharing my story earlier. Like, thank God. I mean, at least I'm just adding on. Just give me more of that. Yeah, I feel pretty fulfilled. I wanted just a little more, a little more of it all.
Well, to me, that's so healthy, though, right? Because we're infinitely expanding beings. We're not just infinite beings, we're infinitely expanding beings in an infinitely expanding universe. So, and it's not about wanting from lack or desiring from lack. Like that, I want a little more, like my life's awesome and I want a little more. I think it's really the basic instinct of an infinite being to want to expand, to want to continue expansion.
Mm-hmm. But always more possibilities.
Uh-huh.
And you finally get to space where there's no problems. Right. Just, you know, you actually see it that way. I mean, it's like, whoa, what a gift. What a gift of this work.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. and we have so much creative energy moving through us that if we're not creating the more, we'll tend to create drama. And that's why I say drama is also a cover up for wanting more or desiring more, because that's what we do oftentimes with creative energy when it's not being expressed fully.
Right, right. Juliana asked, how can you become a better receiver? And then she has been an always a giver. So do you want to talk a little bit about contribution and receiving with that?
Yvonne says that my desire process is magic. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I should have read that. I was going to read that one next, by the way. I was just trying to keep the questions going.
Pats on the back here.
I'm receiving, man. I'm receiving.
Yeah. And with regards to that, that wouldn't have been something I would have done maybe even 6 months ago to have read that out loud.
Uh-huh.
And so what I would say is it starts with yes, Juliana, to say, yeah, I'd like to receive more. And to potentially just skip the conversation called, am I worthy? Am I enough? Do I deserve? Because my interesting point of view is that conversation is like invalid, because if the universe was set up on deserving, there would be a lot of kids that ate yesterday. And the universe isn't set up on deserving. It's set up on choice, right? And so it doesn't matter if you're enough or if you deserve or whatever. It's like, do you choose to receive? Like, that's how I think it starts. And that, for me, I sucked at receiving. Like, and truthfully, this, you mentioned my my little accident. which was on the heels of another little health situation, which all of it culminated in me in a question that I had about receiving, and my asks were bigger than my receiving was. And so I created a scenario where I actually had to receive, like, because I couldn't do a lot of things for myself, right? And so I was like, wow, like I'm being asked to receive in a way that I've never been willing to, that I've never like allowed myself. I didn't know how to get to, quite frankly. But it really started, I would say about 6 months ago, when I was like, like I am really good at questions. I'm really good at asking. I'm really good at playing with the universe. I call it call and respond to the universe. And I'm noticing that I'm still doing hard. And I realized that that was a function of receiving. And so
like HARD, hard.
Yeah, like pushing. Like,
okay.
There was still a lot of, I have an awesome life. I've created an awesome life, but I was feeling like there was still a lot of push in me to make things happen. And it's like, I was looking at that and I was like, oh, I'm still not willing to receive. I'm not really willing to have the ease of just saying yes to, like, I've said yes to life, but I hadn't really said yes to like receiving and receiving with ease. And so that's opened up a whole can of worms, I have to say. But
I sort of am questioning if some of that's true for me too. It's even last night, I was kind of like, I got a little frustrated during the day because, we were uploading, downloading, and I kind of lost internet bandwidth while I was doing this. And then I kind of had like a moment where I kind of, I pushed someone away, and then I was like, what am I doing? No, I need this, right? And then there was like all this flood of yes in me. But I initially, like habitually in my programming somewhere, I have a little bit of a stop first. Ooh, thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I think I'm about ready to hit the gas and go.
All right. So
I'm exhausting myself this time.
So what do we want to do with those stop signs, Jen?
I would like to destroy and uncreate them.
Woo! Oh, yeah. So can we destroy and uncreate all of the stop signs we have to receiving everything the universe would love to be gifting to us, including those things we've been asking for that it's not able to give us because our receiving window is so thin. And the receive call that I did on Sunday, the metaphor that I used was like, okay, we're making these big asks of the universe. Universe, I'd like to make $1 million. I'd like to blah, 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 whatever it is, right? And our receiving window's this big. So it's like an elephant trying to come through like a crack in the door. Like, what's going to happen? It poof, right? So it's like, we gotta like, to me, it was like, oh, like, how can we expand that? And it's not even so much a conscious no, right? It's like, we're just only used to having this much. And so this is what we've attuned to. Right. And so what I'm learning is like, it's an attunement process to like kind of start opening our bodies are open energy systems.
Yeah.
Right. We're walking receivers, actually. So if we're not receiving what we're asking for, it's because we put those stop signs or barriers or like, okay, I'll receive this much like this in this way. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was at an event in Long Beach and it was just starting. And at the very beginning, I get a note from Airbnb that my current guest had insufficient funds. I kind of had like that initial vigilant system, like, hi, like, what do I do? Right. I'll tell you in a minute while I'm sharing this. I know it kind of seems a little random, but that changed me to everything comes to me with ease and an opportunity to change it. And when I got that, I tell you, it was this huge awakening that, okay, there's nothing, like, you just make a choice here. Do you react? Do you respond? Do you know, ask a question? And I basically just contacted the person there and said, how's it going? And just to see, kind of feel out the energy. And she's like, yeah, I just realized our payment didn't go through. I'm calling the bank now. And it all got resolved like within an hour.
Like with
but I was also like energy pulling everything. And I said something, I'm sure you'll figure it out, you know? But it was awesome. And I'm just sharing that because that was just a way that I tried to reject again and really receive. Right? It seems like when things like that, you really reject them. But it really became an opportunity for me to energy play. I'm loving Yvonne's comments here and just her sharing what kind of transformation she's had with you. She says, Megan's helped me see I was procrastinating because I was waiting to have everything in order before I took action. Right? How many of us do that? I mean, especially with online marketing stuff. I mean, it is like, there is a lot of details and a lot of stuff. So we try to like we wait and then we look for, and then we educate, and then we add on, and then we wait, and then we add on. And then we never, you know, take real action that actually contributes to our wealth until we learn that one. You know?
Yeah.
Said that you just did 2 amazing calls on Ask and Receive. So we'll have to, you know, send them some links to your things too.
Yeah. Yvonne, one of the things, because she asked a question a little bit earlier in the thread about, like, she said that, because I was saying that there's a desire underneath procrastination. She said she feels like desire is an avoidance, or her procrastination is avoidance of procrastination. Yes, and what is the desire underneath the procrastination that might even be bigger than the desires you think you're avoiding with procrastination? That just occurred to me to share with her.
Can you say that again? I missed that one.
Okay, do it again. What is the desire that may be deeper than the desires you're avoiding?
Okay.
That is that the procrastination is protecting you from.
So, like, foundationally,
yes.
What are you asking for or desiring for? I like the word ask just a little bit better.
Huh?
I like the word ask just a little bit better than desiring.
Yeah. So whatever that is, what is the ask underneath the procrastination? And would you be willing to not have the procrastination be wrong for 10 seconds? Because as long as it's wrong, you're going to fight with it and you're not going to see what's underneath it. You know, and that's true. Like, you look at communication, right? It's like, if you're making somebody wrong, you're not hearing what they're saying. You know, you can't hear what they're saying if you've decided they're wrong. You just go, whoop. When you decide something's wrong, you actually disconnect from being aware of it. You actually lose awareness. And so there's awareness coming in the procrastination that you don't have access to because you've decided it's wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, May responded back to Yvonne. She said, that's me, Yvonne, and I'm working on changing that. Though it seems like, I love when people say it seems like, such a mountain. So truth is a mountain. Resonating with Megan in this conversation, because of a stubborn person. my grandmother was actually considered, like, everybody said she's so stubborn. Thank you. Really need the elephant to trample through the wall. Love that metaphor. She says, I'm learning it's nicer to work towards the goal little by little than waiting for towers to fall. Gosh, you're so metaphorically, poetically said. Yvonne says, yes, I am willing to not make it wrong. She didn't say it that way. She didn't say it that way.
Yeah.
But so I made procrastination wrong in my world. Like, I've made it wrong. Like, it's, and then sometimes I don't even see it. I think that's even worse. Yeah.
I remember the first time I started changing my relationship to it, and I believe it was in Julia Cameron's Artist's Way, where she said we're misnaming procrastination is a misnomer. It's actually fear, right? Yeah. And it's like, because and what's convenient is once we put that label on ourselves, is we don't have to do anything about it because I'm just a procrastinator. That's just what I do, and I'm wrong and blah blah blah. Instead of going, oh, what am I? Because so that could be another question, like, is there something I'm afraid of right now? And obviously there's an ask underneath that probably, but sometimes maybe to get to the ask, you could look at what you might be afraid of, or what you might be creating fear around for yourself.
Right. Well, it's funny because that is usually true unless you're procrastinating something that you're really is rote for us humanoids that you also don't want to do. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, a lot of things that I used to procrastinate are things that I have team people do now, because it's actually not the best use of my time, because I actually desire to be, or my ask is to be facilitating, to be creating, to be coaching. That's where my juice for life is, travel, adventure. Like, my desire is not to be, programming the back end of the autoresponders for my newsletters. That's not only is it not the best use of my time, but that would be a little bit like an elephant in a china shop, because I suck at it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. It's funny because, like, I almost get dread with certain things in my business that I'm like, I'll make that noise. And that's when I know I've got to figure out a process or system for someone else to do this, because it has to be done usually. There's also an initial question too. Yeah, I'm loving this. May said, Jenna said something in Divine to Divine that really is powerful to this now moment. The self-affirmation of here's what to choose next, not what to do next. To refuse the have-tos thought and choice. Yeah. So that's a biggie, right? Like, here's what I get to choose next. Yeah.
Well, you take a really powerful creator and you tell them they have to do something. What are they going to do? Like, that's really brilliant, Jen. Like, you have to do this, right? Being somebody who has a lot of creative power is going to say, F that, right? And so, like, because we know that there's no have-tos, there's just choice. Yeah. So actually saying, what do we choose to do next? That's such a subtle shift, but it changes the energy.
Yeah. It's funny because I was playing for a little while with just this choice and, like, binary code. I was thinking, like, my life just was like binary code. Like, I just flip. It was funny because when I actually decided to do this event, it was just a single choice, and then everything started to fall into place. Of course, there's some hiccups along the way, but it's like, okay, it just unfolded as, with just like a choice does. You decide to write a book, and then it just starts to unfold. And, if you're not totally 100% in it, then you will say, oh, it's too hard, I quit. And I think that's totally a humanoid thing that's in our programming. What would be the process to kill the, oh, it's so hard, I quit?
I really think it's like, ask questions. Like for instance, it's kind of like what we're talking about, where like where are you in the process? Like, for instance, I actually just did a coaching session with an author who is in that place because she'd had so much passion about writing the book, it wrote itself. And now she's like, well, now she's going into stories about, it's taking away from my family and all this. And we'll come to find out it's just time for editing, and that's not her gig, And so, right? And so we talked about, we creatively brainstormed another possibility for having editing happen for her. And that just freed up a whole bunch of space. So sometimes when we get to that, we want to ask some questions. Is like, do I need support? Is there information? Is there something I need to know here that I don't know? Is someone else better suited to come in and help me with this? Right. And then, also looking at, because I know sometimes for me, when something's really big, meaning it has the potentiality of having a really big impact, I will notice that stuff coming up. Like, do I really want to do this? And it's, I would say really like asking questions to uncover what it actually is, because if it's something that you were loving doing, was like juicing you up, and then all of a sudden there's this hard stop, you want to look at, is it time to bring someone else in, or am I, what am I scared of here? Like those kind of questions, get curious.
I love that. Thank you. Gosh, we've got some other questions. I want to talk about your project Infusion though, real quick, and we'll address some questions after. So if you guys have questions, and the simpler questions you have would be better for me. I don't need the story with it. Just ask your question. It would be easier.
Or sum up the question.
Yeah. Yvonne has a good question. No, we've got a couple good questions. Caroline has a good question.
Cool. Tell me what they are.
So Yvonne asked, where should I start with this? Try not to, she said, let me just read it all. Oh, wow. That was a big aha moment. Wow. My to-do list becomes a have-to-do list. No, it's more like a get-to-do list. I get to do it. Yeah. But you got the point. It shifts a little. It's like, what do I get to do now? Which feels restrictive and heavy. Yes. Okay. I want to say F that. Yep. I see where she's going. I've been wanting to shift from to-do lists to being in the question, but haven't been able to make a shift yet. So what am I afraid of? Not trusting myself to get it accomplished in this non-linear way. Wow. What would it take to shift that?
I got something, and you might have something too, because I think, when we very first started playing together, I hired you for a little bit. And part of it was to get more support truly in creating in the unique way that I create. Because when you are a multifaceted creator living in a linear world, you can buy into a lot of stuff that just isn't true, and it just isn't. And so you start to think, oh, I can't count on myself. I can't trust myself because I'm not creating this way. But actually, that's not true. You just don't create that way. So you can't trust yourself. You, as a fish, you can't trust yourself to climb a tree. Can't trust yourself to do that because it's not you. But as a fish, you can trust yourself to swim, because how you can trust yourself to create how you create. But most of us haven't really sort of unshackled ourselves from what we've been taught creation is. And also haven't really claimed that. And I would say that is one of the gifts that I got from you actually in our conversation.
I had to get out of it myself first.
Right? Yeah, because when you're this weird, you got to do a little defragging. But the one thing that comes up for me to say to you, Yvonne, about this is that test, don't trust. It's like, oh, I don't trust myself. Like trust is, I mean, I know it's kind of this, I think it's one of those metaphysical worlds, like, what is that really, right? And what is like, oh, I have to trust before I can. It's just another way of like avoiding. But when you were a little kid, did you trust that you could climb the tree, or did you just freaking test it and see if you could climb the tree? Like our natural instinct is to test shit, right? To see if it works, right? And so what I would say is don't trust it, test it. Be willing to say, okay, look at your to-do that's now a to-choose list. And actually when you look and like for an entire day go, this is something actually that I did that was very profound for me, which is like, I was actually probably right where you are right now. And I said to the universe, I said, show me how I create. And I put the list away. And I actually filled an entire program in less than 48 hours. And it was really off the wall how it all happened. And it was cool because I saw that a lot of things that I had called my distractions and avoidances were actually things I did to gather energy that the project needed. And that's actually in part where the Project Infusion came from that you actually mentioned earlier, because I realized I was gathering the energies that I needed to bring in to kind of make my mud pie, so to speak.
Yeah. It's like one of the, it's kind of like, muck around and then test, right? It's like grab. And then for us non-linear creators, that's the only way that, and you've got to find your own process. I used to call those autopilots. And if you get results, then you create and you put it on autopilot. I love that. So what's in Project Infusion?
Well, what I realized.
No, we're just kidding.
I don't know. You'll have to see. What I realized is that some of the little things that I did that I used to call procrastination or avoidance were things that I did to literally kind of gather things to myself, like reading, like journaling, doodling, going on Facebook. And like one of the things, it's really interesting because I could be doing a Facebook chat with somebody and see everybody calls Facebook distraction. And it can be, and people use it that way. But when I really saw this, I was like, oh, because I was chatting with somebody, there was a word that sparked me. And then I would be like writing a document at the same time. I'd be writing copy for something at the same time. And then I would do all over the place, right? I call it my doodly do. So the Project Infusion is a way of directly accessing energies that are what I find are very useful in creation. The energies of play, the energies of beauty, the energies of harmony, the energies of creativity, of receiving. So there are basically 7 infusions to actually bring energy into a project. So there's a way that you can experiment. So you pick a project, right? So I'm going to create with this project. And then every day you bring a different energy in and you see how it contributes and you see how it facilitates the project.
Yeah. Love that. I'm excited. Can't wait to get it out of the box for myself. If you do want to, so there's 2 offers with this program. If you just want these interviews, we've got 25 interviews this week and a lot of bonuses. If you want some encores of some of these speakers. So the offer to get the box with everybody who contributed is bossbox.it/bliss/box. And you'll see that in various emails. If you're not opted in, just, hashtag opt-in and we'll send you the link to opt-in so that you can get these links or, just get the whole experience. We've got 3 more days, 2 more calls today, and then 3 more days. So I would love for you guys to play and participate and get the box. It's $197. And there is, I mean, these are things that I've said, I don't want you to put a free gift in it. I want you to give me something that you're actually selling in your cart. So these are all programs that people are selling. So it's ridiculously highly reduced.
How many speakers do you have on this?
Yeah, well, there's 23. And then we've got 2 others that are contributing to, a joint venture later. So there will be 25 eventually.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a dreaming deal.
Oh, it's getting tiring sitting in this chair, but other than that, it's fun. I think I'm going to change out my chair tomorrow. I might need some.
Wiggle. Give us a wiggle, Jen. Give us a wiggle, 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 wiggle.
Right? I was trying to cue up some music last night, and then I realized that it didn't get on my phone. But I was going to do like little dance parties between each one, just to get things ready, get things excited. So, cool. Karen said, "Who couldn't use some infusion?" #
Right?
I love the idea of infusing these energies, right? Like literally just, playing with the frequency and then expressing like what can be expressed by having these infused.
Yeah. And most nonlinear creators are energy creators, meaning that we feel energy, we create from energy, and we use energy to create it. We're the E=mc² crew from Einstein, right? We take energy and we make it into matter. And so, for linear creators, lists are more important because I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4. For an energy creator, energy is the most important thing. So for those people who are sort of kind of breaking the mold of like, I'm not a linear creator, the project infusion is perfect because it teaches you that, I create with energy. I don't create have tos.
Yeah. And it's so funny because when I realized that I create through energy, like things happen, quote. But like I was out with somebody facilitating somebody, and someone walked by and a couple, and then I could tell that there was something on the ground, and I told her, go pick it up. And it was a quarter, and it said, go west. And it was for the Cumberland Gap. And she was like, I think I need to go into the wilderness of leadership. And she got it like that. I mean, that's just an example of a moment where the energy just led. And there's so many moments like that where I'm just like, I knew who needed to be on these calls. I just, for the first time around, it had to be like all my great friends. So if there was screw ups, but they had to be the greats, and I've got so many great friends that are willing to play that, it just came together with so much ease. And it was all following, this work, it works. And I'm just watching you live your life, and you're really becoming quite the master of it. Quite the master. It's really cool to watch. Yeah.
I'm the master of experiments. Some of them, the thing is as you're willing to experiment, you get better at it, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, that didn't work. Mud pie on that one. Like fly on the windshield. Okay, cool. Like a little to the left, a little to the right, and I've just been experimenting in a way that allows me to continue to expand. And as long as I'm experimenting instead of pushing, my life works.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so much more fun. Like, Yvonne just said, and I kind of concur. She's like, I successfully used linear creation for so long that it's easy for me to identify myself as that. But I love to shift into energy creation. It's kind of, I kind of look at it now, though, I got really successful doing a lot of things linearly. And I kind of now look at it like, well, I'm not going to get rid of the linear, right? Some of that still does work. It's just, the linear and the systems are more for others. And I really come from the creative visionary side of it. So, Megan, yeah. Karen said, LOL, this is so great. This is so great. I could literally just do 5 hours with you, by the way.
I know. Let's
We want to do it in the future. I really adore you, and I think we kind of think the same, so it works. Great. So let me, why don't you share where people can find you and what's the best way to find you? And then we've got another call starting in 4 minutes.
Perfect. Well, Facebook is a really great way to just kind of get a sense of me and my personality and some of the things that I'm doing. If you want to have a sense of my yummy prizes when you sign up. Like about, let's see, I've got 2 books in me reading a chapter in another book, Power of Living Genius, which some of what we talked about today is kind of rooted in that early work around genius that I did. So megansillitoe.com, or come play with me on Facebook. Have a conversation with me. I love engaging. I love creating conversations that open up possibilities.
Yeah. You do so much playing online, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's inspiring. I should do more. All right. Well, thank you so much. We're going to take like a 2-minute break, and then I'm going to come on with Adria, and we are going to go deeper and deeper and deeper into bliss. Deeper. 2 more.
Thank you, Jen, so much.
Oh my God. Mwah. Thank you. Thank you. And I hope your body is healing. It seems to be happier today.
Yes. Happy body. Thank you.
Oh, today's my birthday.
Oh my gosh, I forgot.
And we did do the celebration bubbles. Hold on.
Where are the celebration bubbles? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Do you know what I'm going to send you my favorite birthday song. Can I say the word bitch on here?
Yeah, go for it.
It's your birthday, bitch. Buck it up because it's your birthday, bitch. I'm going to send it to you. It's awesome. It's a birthday rap, right? And you're going to love it. It's so awesome. But happy birthday. I adore you. Thank you so much for being on this planet with me at this time. So I can play with you.
Cool.
Happy birthday, honey.
I love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.